Hey everyone, thanks for joining the webinar today. My name is Dean Yao, the Director of Marketing here at Jimfinite Software, and I'm joined by Mike Pulaski. He's our Systems Engineer. We're going to be taking you through some of our discussions in building Java reporting and dashboards into your applications. And later on, Mike will be showing you a demo, which will make the concept side discuss much more clear. And just a little bit of housekeeping, feel free to ask any questions that you have in the questions section in the GoToWebinar control panel, and we'll be sure to answer those. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. So JReport, just want to cover a few highlights here. JReport is an embeddable data visualization platform. And the key highlights here, the first one is it's high performance and scalable. So what that means is JReport provides some intelligent push-down technology. As an example, JReport can actually push down specific types of queries like aggregation queries down to the database for the database to compute the aggregate result sets and pass those back to JReport Server for storage in JReport's InMemory Cubes. So as an example, all of the queries that try to calculate average, sum, min, max, and count can be pushed down to the database, and a much smaller result set can be passed back to JReport, and then these cubes store them for very quick retrieval by dashboards, reports, and data analysis very quickly later on. These are our own proprietary implementations of OLAP cubes. And also we have clustering technologies which let you take multiple nodes and have identical instances of JReport running across each node, whether they're physical or virtual nodes. And then this is great for linearly scaling the workloads and also eliminating any points of single points of failure. So clustering technologies is another area that we excel at. So self-service ability is a central theme to JReport in that we provide a tool that have a very low learning curve, and we're really about empowering end users to perform their own report creation, their dashboard creation, and to perform their own data analysis through a lot of our ad hoc technologies. And lastly, we have the flexibility. We have the ability to mash up data from any kind of data source, whether they're relational databases to a lot of big data vendors like NoSQL databases and Hadoop data sources, and also cloud data sources from Amazon Web Services and also Microsoft Azure. So in order to do this, we can actually mash up data from different tables across databases using our distributed join technology. And then we have the ability to embed JReport into any application and to customize it so that completely white label JReport, and you can customize the look and feel and also the functionality of the reports and dashboards. All right, so let's focus a little bit more on embedability. So as I mentioned, JReport's a BI platform. It has all the security and administrative features that enterprises expect, and it has all the customization features that let you really be able to tune the look and feel and the functionality of the reports, dashboards, and the data visualizations. We have a very strong sense of metadata management where everything can be stored into catalogs. These are your dimensions, your measures, your reports, and all of your dashboards, and all of the components like charts, tables, and crosstabs, and all the control components like sorts, filters, slider bars. All of that can be stored in catalogs for easy reuse later on. So you're not always creating from scratch every time, but you're reusing things from a component library so that you can build very easily and very quickly. We have extensive development tools. This is headed up by JReport Designer, which is a very sophisticated tool that lets you build components, reports, and dashboards in a very pixel-perfect manner. You can build very complex reports this way and share them with others so that they can reuse these components later on. And also, we have a very wide API set for application embedding. So we're written entirely in Java, and we have an extensive Java API where Java applications can call our APIs directly to control the functionality of JReport Server. So what is it about Java? What's the big deal with Java? Java is arguably the most popular programming language out there. It's also very portable, meaning that it runs on any platform. So if your platform is running a JVM, then the Java application can run very easily on any JVM. And also, it's very easy to develop. So developers have a very easy time in developing and maintaining code written in Java. So this lends itself very well for us to be able to embed our reporting functionalities into Java applications because it's so prevalent, it's so flexible in the different platforms it runs on, and it's so easy to integrate and maintain. Developers have a very easy time integrating JReport and embedding JReport into their Java applications. So let's talk about the different ways in which we enable integration and embedding. So on the y-axis, you can see that we talk about the deployment integration, and on the x-axis is functional integration. So out of the box, JReport runs as a standalone platform. Okay, so really there's no integration involved, obviously, deployment or functional. But if you want to actually deploy JReport in your application server like Tomcat or JBoss, you can easily do that side by side with your host application. They would just be WAR files in this application server, and they would be deployed very simply that way. This gives you the flexibility of using any kind of any version of Java, your own Java EE server, and it's very flexible that way. A deeper level of deployment integration would be to package JReport up with your host application into the same WAR file and ship it off that way, so that everything is all in one convenient package. Here you can also use your own J2EE, Java Enterprise Edition version and server. All right, so lots of different ways to deploy JReport. Now, on the functional side of things, we have a method where you can actually pass APIs through the URL. So if your host application wants to call a report from JReport Server, then they just need to point their web browser to JReport Server and pass over the URLs as parameters in that, pass over APIs through that URL as parameters. So you can actually pick and choose what type of report or dashboard to run, and pass the different parameters like, let's say, a date range and specific filter controls. All this can be passed through URL. A much deeper way of embedding would be directly having your host application call our Java APIs. So we've actually exposed a lot of the functionality of JReport through our JReport APIs written in Java, and that gives a deep level of control in your host application being able to initiate things like creating reports, drilling down, doing sorts, filters, pivoting, even scheduling reports. All of this can be controlled through the Java API. All right. So wide range of different deployment and functional integration levels. And let's give it just a quick example of a UI integration. So here's an example of a host application which we wrote that demos JReport. And all of these thumbnails you see here are actually URL links to specific reports on the JReport server, and the way we specify the specific reports and the parameters being passed is through URL. So you can see an example URL here where we specify the catalog name, the report name, the result type, and you can pass all sorts of different parameters through the URL to fire up and generate the report or dashboard. All right, so moving along, let's talk about some of the other benefits of JReport in self-serviceability. So we provide ad hoc reporting, which lets power users, end users, and business users be able to create their own reports and be able to modify them later on at will. So they start with a wizard, a step-by-step wizard, with a blank template, and they can carve that template up into different areas, and then start dropping in different tables, crosstabs, charts, and start connecting the data sources to those different components. And then finally, they can skin it, give it a different styling, and then they can hit execute and get their report this way. You can see a coffee sales report with a pie chart, crosstab, and some control components on the left. They can edit this at any time by going into the edit mode and just manipulating the representation of the data however they want. So really flexible in the data sources they choose. They can set different filters, sorts, customize things like drill into details, linking to the reports, and they can set their themes, profiles, and print layouts in adherence to their security and corporate governance policies. So a lot of flexibility and power in ad hoc reporting. And even along with reporting, we give the users the ability to perform their self-service ad hoc data analysis. And so business users and end users can now take our tool called visual analysis and really be able to interact with their data in a very agile fashion. So you can see in the top left that they start with a blank crosstab, and they can just start dragging and dropping different dimensions and measures, and they can see the data right away. They can change their mind, remove dimensions and measures, add new ones. They can switch from, let's say, text to a bar chart, to a pie chart, to a line chart, rotate the rows and columns, set different shapes and colors, and pick different data sets. And all this is done very quickly through InMemory Cubes. All this data is being pulled by InMemory Cubes, which makes this a very agile, very responsive way to look at your data from different angles. Of course, the screenshots here don't do it justice, so definitely Mike will show you more about this in his demo. And let's talk a little bit more about InMemory Cubes and caching. So I mentioned that cubes up front can be created from result sets from the database very easily. This is just a visual representation of a three-dimensional cube. Of course, it could be n-dimensional. But once those aggregation queries are pushed down to the database, the result sets can be passed back, stored in memory cubes for use later on by reports and dashboards. Even detailed data can be passed back and stored in our detailed disk cache on JReport Server. And all of this is made possible through our universal data source connector layer, which lets JReport Server talk to many different types of relational databases through connectors like ODBC or JDBC. We've built our own custom connectors to many different big data sources, NoSQL and Hadoop data vendors. And even flat files like XML, CSV, Excel files can be used as data sources, web services. And if none of these categories fit your data source, we provide an API to let you programmatically build your own connector to any kind of data source that you may have. All right, so moving on to big data a little bit more. I'm not going to describe exactly what big data is, but to summarize, it's large, fast, unstructured, possibly semi-structured, complex data. Commonly used storage methods are NoSQL databases like the document-based MongoDB or a column-based HP Vertica database, or the HBase, Apache HBase, which is part of Apache Hadoop. And you have different types of Hadoop vendors that are storing big data and allowing retrieval of big data, Hortonworks, MapR, and Cloudera. So we've built different connectors to each of those. We're actually using Apache Hive for connecting to Hortonworks, also Apache Drill for connecting to MapR. So different data sources require different types of connectors, which we worked with the data vendor in this case to build those custom connectors. All right, and the last thing I want to show you is JDashboard. And this is a really easy ad hoc way to produce and modify dashboards. You can easily drag and drop components like charts, Google Maps, crosstabs, tables, indicator charts. All of these can be dragged and dropped from a component library for easy reuse onto a blank canvas. They can be moved around, resized, deleted, new ones can be added. So a very easy tool to create dashboards. It's all written in HTML5, and you can even take this and put them on your iOS device using JReport Mobile, which I'll talk about next. So two ways really to get the great visualizations into the hands of your end users. One is through a web browser. You can see here 3 examples of our deployments with 3 customers, Video, Visa, and Passkey. The reports are so seamlessly blended in that you can't tell where JReport ends and where the host application begins. So very tight integration there. And we allow, as I said, pixel perfect capability, report scheduling, even things like report bursting, where you can send out the same report to multiple people, and depending on the profile of the person, they would see a different view of that same report. We can even export these out to different formats, PDF being a very popular one, even Microsoft Excel, where we're not just copying and pasting a static image of the chart into Excel, but we're actually creating real Excel chart objects. So you can continue to change the visualization and analyze the data directly from within Excel. And then we have JReport Mobile. As I mentioned, any dashboard you create with JDashboard can be viewed on JReport Mobile and even interacted with. JReport Mobile is a free iOS native app that you can download for free off the Apple App Store. So lots of different ways to view and interact with your data. I want to talk about some of the highlights of our latest release, JReport 13.1. So we've really made great strides in enhancing geo-analysis. So we're now letting the user define drill up and drill down paths on maps. So for example, they can drill down from region to country to state to county to city and then back up. And you can even set customized markers in areas. So you can actually shade the different states with different colors based on different dimensions. And you can even drop markers on these states. The markers can be set by color, size, and shape. And also, we support visual analysis directly inside of JDashboard now. Before, when we first released visual analysis, it was a separate standalone tool that allowed for data analysis. But now we've fully integrated it into JDashboard so that it can actually sit as a component within an overall larger dashboard. So lots of flexibility there, and you can continue to analyze that data from within a dashboard. So this really calls attention to our product unity. All of our products are compatible with each other, so they all fit nicely, and everything's built on the same code base, actually. We also provide enhanced SaaS enablement. So with 13.1, we provide full multi-tenancy support, where each tenant administrator has full control over their own tenant resources, user management, and data, so that each tenant is siloed, protected from one another. So this is really great in being able to embed JReport into lots of different types of multi-tenant SaaS environments. We also have the ability, as I mentioned before, to do distributed joins now. We can take data from different data sources and join data from one table with another table and another data source into the same chart, crosstab, or even table. And now we're able to better support larger data sets when we filter and render them in charts and crosstabs. All right, so just a couple more slides before I turn things over to Mike. Just a quick glance at our install base. We've been around since 1998, focused on embedded reporting. We have over 1,000 customers. Over 90% are embedded, and you can see some of our recent wins here. And lastly, we have a very wide global customer base. We service a lot of industries out there: finance, telecom, government. We have a strong focus in OEMs. We embed a lot into OEM and ISV applications. And with that, let me turn your attention to Mike. I'll switch presenter control to Mike, and he'll give you a short demo. All right, it's all yours, Mike.
Thank you, Dean. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to September's webinar. My name is Mike Pulaski. I'm the Technical Sales Engineer at JReport Software. Today's webinar, Build Java Reporting and Dashboards into Your Applications. I'll talk about embedding JReport within your environment, both on the front end as well as the back end, specifically a Java environment, as well as demoing those product features, whether it's interactive reports, ad hoc reports, a new feature called visual analysis, as well as the dashboard feature within JReport. In any web application, JReport can be embedded on the front end, regardless of the web application framework. .NET, Java, PHP, Python, Ruby on Rails. How is JReport embedded on the front end? Simply modify your existing web pages by adding iframes, or in the case of this simple web application, these are div tags. And nested within that container tag are anchors or links. So any web developer can create these links just by knowing what parameters get passed in the query string. So in essence, the user's running a report via URL. It's very simple to create these. Any web developer is more than capable of performing these tasks. We also embed JReport on the back end. We have a set of Java JReport APIs that are available. For your development team, if they're interested, just navigate to the company website at jinfonet.com/kbase, and we expose all of the APIs. It's available for public knowledge, in which the user can go to the JReport Server Live component, and then clicking on the HTML link under Java Docs, and that will take them to the web pages that outlines all the APIs that are available within our product, both JReport Designer as well as JReport Server Live. In terms of integrating with your backend, the most common examples of integrating JReport with the Java JReport APIs are for tasks such as single sign-on or authenticating users. We don't expect you to create users and assign them roles and groups within JReport Server Live. You can continue to use your external means of authenticating users. You can continue to use your external means of security by calling the JReport Java APIs. We provide numerous code samples to help you in establishing that back-end API. So wherever JReport Server was installed, navigate to the Help folder, Samples folder, and we provide a breakdown of code samples by the functionality. For any code samples, in order to integrate single sign-on, just navigate to the API security folder. There's another directory called single sign-on, and we provide the classes. We provide some JSP sample files in which you could set up an environment to see exactly how to implement an interface in reference to single sign-on. Bouncing back to the Java JReport APIs, if you want to see exactly what interface is used, look at the sample code, jump to the Java docs, and we can see, we have an interface HTTP external authorized that we have to implement in order to utilize single sign-on on the back end. Let's change focus now and look at the product features within JReport. First, starting with the predefined reports. Your report development team can create many different looks and feels of reports. In this case, we're going to provide the user with a tab-based interface. You can incorporate input parameters. You can determine what type of reports you'd like to spit out to your users, whether they're the traditional banded reports, crosstab summaries, or in the case of this sample report, visualizing it with pie charts, bar charts, area charts. Moving on to a different tab, you can provide multiple reports via combination reports. What better way to visualize data with bar charts and line charts, all within the same reporting object? Conditional formatting is allowed. Your report developers can add this simple if statement conditional logic to draw attention or highlight areas of reports that are causing a concern, or for things that are fantastic to draw your attention. You can even incorporate rankings into those tabular style reports. We provide the templates to build any type of vertical traditional report, whether it's billing reports, invoices, profit and loss statements, general ledgers, any type of financial report. We provide the templates to quickly aid your report development team in building those reports. For those users who are comfortable with Excel, the crosstabs / pivot tables, you can highlight areas using that conditional logic, and piggybacking off your schema allows the creation of what are called hierarchies. In our schema, we have columns in our database for region, territory, country, state, city. This hierarchy allows the ability for your users to drill down, to drill up in the hierarchy, to drill to specific values, even drilling through from that master report to that detail level report. So regardless of the user clicks, they can also right click to navigate within that hierarchy. Let's go down in the hierarchy, or they can make changes to the hierarchy. By drilling to, we could change the dimensions of these row headings. We're currently displaying the territory. Well, let's change it to any other data element. Let's look at the product types. And interacting with these reports does not require an extra trip to the server. We're simply using dynamic HTML and JavaScript to re-render these reports on the client. If you think of the concept of hierarchies for geography, region, territory, country, state, city, product level hierarchies, time level hierarchies, year, quarter, month, hour, day, etc. This incorporates multiple layers of flexibility for your users. So determining what does your user expect in a report, whether that's a simple report in which they only input parameters and click buttons to generate that report, or you can incorporate a more visual report, pie charts, bar charts, and tabular reports. On any type of report, there's toolbars in which the user can export into a wide variety of different formats, printing pixel perfect reports. They always have the ability to filter records, to sort records, to search, to zoom in and out. There's page navigation. It's built into JReport, that master and detail level relationship. Well, when you build a chart, by automatically clicking on the visualization, you will drill down into a detail level view. It's a tabular view. It's built into JReport. Alternatively, rather than having it out of the box, this detail report, you may want to enhance your own very elegant detail report and create the link between the master report and the detail report. It's out of the box. You can customize it in any way, shape, or form. Looking at more interactivity available to the user within a pie chart, that concept of a hierarchy that allows the drilling down from a country to a state to a city level, exposing this context-sensitive menu in which I could change the dimensions. So rather than displaying total sales for each city, let's display the category of total sales. So now I'm displaying category level information and a breakdown of that sales. So all the interactivity is available within JReport to accommodate a more usable interface, we provide these web filter controls. Your report developers can add them. Your users can add them at runtime. It's a cascading style effect, but it really adds value to your users in choosing how they want to filter data for their own reports. On any report, it's simple to clear the filter. They can undo any type of changes. For your more sophisticated users, you can expose the resources panel in which they can really manipulate these reports. By exposing all that layer of metadata, whether it's detail level information, dimension level information, or that aggregate summary level data, the end user can simply drag and drop any dimension of data, whether it's on the row level or the column level, and they could create new dimensions of data on these predefined reports. It's sort of acting just like an ad hoc report. So that wraps up some of the features of predefined reports. There's a whole lot more available within interactive reports, but let's shift focus and look at a small subset of your users that requires their own ability to create reports, that ad hoc report. We provide a web-based wizard-style approach in which the users can create their own reports. You can modify the look and the feel, white label these reports with your client's color schemes, images, logos, and styles by modifying the cascading style sheets. Clicking the next step in the wizard, well, what's the layout? What does your user want to build on this report? And then just choosing a sampling of components to see how does the user build their own bar chart or tabular report. JReport supports the use of multiple data sources. I can have data source A used to build the bar chart. I can have data source B used to build this tabular report. We're very flexible in that endeavor. You don't have to use multiple data sources, but in the future, if you do want to incorporate multiple data sources, it's available for your use. In building any type of report, as long as the user understands what data elements are used to build a report, it's a very simple step-by-step process. In my sales department, I'm continuously asked to build reports broken down by region or x-axis. I highlight the data element, click the arrow. That's all that's required to build a report. Now on the show values, what summary level or aggregate/measure type data do I want to display? Within the metadata layer, not only do you alias those cryptic column names to make it more meaningful when the user's building their own ad hoc reports, but you also determine what type of data is this, whether it's that detail level information as is commonly found in street addresses, email addresses, telephone numbers, fax numbers, that dimension or group level information, as well as that summary type data, the so-called aggregate measure type data. That's what we use to build a bar chart. In the sales department, broken down by region, show me total sales. At this point, I could change to a different type of chart. There's well over 80 different visualizations factoring in the subtypes, but we're satisfied with this. Let's continue building that tabular report by clicking the next button. I could change data sources, but the end user simply just has to choose whichever data elements they would like to use in building their detail section of the table report. Scroll down the list and choose whichever columns are needed. They can change the labels on the report. For other users, well, they may want to build different types of reports by grouping them. Click on the Group tab, highlight whichever data element they would like to group the information, and click the arrow. JReport allows multiple levels of grouping. You can even provide that summary level data on the report. Just click on the Summary tab, highlight the data element, determine where exactly it displays. At this point, you can save the report in a private folder. You can save the report in a public folder. Think of it like a departmental level folder. As long as other users have permissions to the report, they can see them. In this case, let's run this ad hoc report, and to see it, how is it visualized to the user in a browser? All the interactivity is still available, drilling down from country to city level, making any changes by right-clicking the column heading. Here's that metadata layer present to the user. Well, let's swap out the order date with the territory. Any changes can be done on the fly, as well as allowing those more sophisticated users the ability to drag and drop whether it's on the column level or the row level, to really add value to those ad hoc reports. So I may create an ad hoc report, save it in a public folder, and other users who have permissions to view and to edit and to save, they can really add value by manipulating these reports. And we have a built-in archive system and version control, so you can always keep track of which version of the document that you create at any moment in time. Let's introduce the next feature, a very specialized type of ad hoc report. Dean mentioned it earlier, called visual analysis. This is a newer feature in JReport, relies on that OLAP style memory cubes to cache aggregate information. I love this feature because it's a drag and drop style approach to building any type of report, in which your users can build a report simply by determining what data elements and dragging and dropping right onto this crosstab/grid interface. In the sales department, I'll create this column of data for the region abbreviations. I'm constantly tasked to build reports based on some time element. So I just scroll down the list, either month, quarter, or year. Let's just drag and drop it. So this is the y-axis. So now I have this semblance of a report, and what summary type of data would I like to generate this report on? In the sales department, total sales looks okay. Drag and drop that right onto the palette, and now we have the semblance of a report. Again, we're pulling this from that OLAP style memory cube. We're not hitting the database. Any changes can be done. Let's swap out the column and the row headings. Or if you want JReport to dynamically generate a color-coded legend, simply determine what data element you would like JReport to build that color-coded dynamic legend, and drag and drop that data element right onto the color palette. Any changes can be done through the drag and drop approach. My manager, he doesn't fancy these style of reports. He prefers the bar chart. We can easily accomplish that task by taking this label of total sales and dropping it right onto the row heading, which converts this into a bar chart. We've seen how easy it is to drag dimensions of data. You can create multiple dimensions of data by just dragging, whether it's, let's start with the quarter, then year, or year and quarter, by dragging and dropping, breaking down the month. So you can add as many dimensions as you would like. You can remove dimensions simply by removing it off the grid. And this looks like a great start. Let's save this report, whether it's in a private folder, a public folder. We can call this VA report. We can save this. And now we're going to introduce the final feature in today's demo, the dashboard feature, in which we provide the templates for you to visualize that data, whether crosstabs, summaries, any type of visualization, bar charts, pie charts, incorporating geoanalysis reporting, whether that may be Google Maps or alternative open source means, OpenStreetMaps. It's very interactive. The user can drag the slider control if they want to see these two blips on the radar, or drawing right on the component itself to be used as a filter. They can hover over the data points to see visually what data is represented on this particular date in May of 2014. The interactivity. Messaging works by clicking on one component. It may pass in additional parameters to other components. That can be illustrated in the slider control. Let's filter this date range, and you see multiple components by parameters being passed into one, if not multiple components to update. The dashboard feature can be very dynamic. There's a feature available called auto refresh. How often do you want to query your data sources and automatically update any number of components on the fly? Just taking a quick peek at some other dashboards that have been pre-built. We've seen the slider controls. We've seen these web filter controls. You can create these dashboard components of the combination charts, the geoanalysis reporting. You determine whether you want to visualize the data using 2-dimension reporting, 3-dimension visualizations. All that interactivity, whether it's predefined reports, ad hoc reports, or dashboards, is available to your user. Even creating the dashboard is a very simple and elegant process for the end users. They navigate to the directory wherever the components are stored. Now it's their chance to shine. Drag and drop. drag and drop any number of components right onto their dashboard canvas. They can move things, resize things, delete things, and replace things. Even not only are they using dashboard components, but they have the ability to reuse anything that came from or originated from the predefined report or the ad hoc report. We've seen some of these predefined reports in today's demo. You can reuse the pie charts and crosstabs and line charts. Everything from predefined reports and ad hoc reports is a usable right into your dashboard feature of JReport, including if you want to remove something, it's easy to replace it. Let's look at that visual analytics report I created a little bit earlier called VA report. Drag and drop that as an object right onto your dashboard, not only giving your users the ability to look at these components, but if they so choose, they have the ability, if they have permission, they can continue working on this. So we provide that tab-based interface in which the user can continue editing this aggregate style analytics. They can add new dimensions, they could remove dimensions, everything that was available in building the visual analytics, they have available. Let's add a filter in the bottom left corner simply by dragging and dropping any data element, in this case region, and let's filter this report. Asia Pacific is not my region, deselect it, and we're pulling a new cache of data from that OLAP style memory cube and redisplaying visual analytics. So that concludes today's demo showcasing how you can potentially embed JReport on the front end via URL API calls, as well as on the back end. We provide the knowledge base archive. We have a large set of code samples to help your report development team. We've showcased the features, predefined reports, ad hoc reports, visual analytics, as well as the dashboard feature within JReport. So we provide a full enterprise level reporting solution to solve a lot of your reporting needs.
All right, thanks, Mike. Thanks for that demo. Let me wrap things up now by giving a quick slide on next steps. So look out for our follow-up email. We will be giving you a white paper that talks more about embedded reporting and analytics. We'll give you a pointer to have you download a free trial of JReport 13.1. It's a fully functioning free trial. And we can also talk to you about how to do a no-obligation proof of concept. Our next webinar will be on November 3rd, and we're teaming up with a couple of analysts from the EMA analyst team, Lindsay Wise and John Myers, and we'll be talking about a lot about embedded BI and reporting and analytics. And for more information, go to jimfinite.com. You can actually go and visit our website where we have lots of videos, even a more in-depth, on-demand product demo, so you can actually see the product even more. Feel free to email us, dyao@jimfinite.com, and also Mike Pulaski. And you can reach out by phone, and please feel free to follow us on Twitter @jimfinite. And we will be here till the top of the hour to answer any more questions that come in through the questions box. All right, thank you very much for joining today, and talk to you next time.